You guys just want him out? Do you want him trespassed?
Anything we can do. Trespass, yeah. I just need
Trespass, get him out.
Please. That's the only way.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Do you want to chat?
I know that your
All
protocol
right.
is.
So you're trespassed, so we gotta leave now. Unless you want to be in there.
We're not trespassing. You haven't notified us that we're trespassing.
So
Number one.
what did
Number
I
two.
just say to you? You're trespassed.
Number
Let's go.
one. Number one.
I don't
Number
want to
two.
arrest you guys.
You're not going to arrest us. Number two
So let's
is
leave.
that
We gotta go. We gotta go.
protocol
Let's
is
go.
to
Let's
wait
go.
this down for 1 second. Is if we ask you to
I
turn
don't
the
want.
body
I don't
cam
want to
off.
deal with this. Let's
Okay.
go.
No, no.
I understand you don't want to deal with it,
Okay,
but the
let's go.
protocol
Wait,
is,
wait,
and your
can-
protocol
can
is
you
if I
relax?
ask you to turn off the body cam, you have to turn it off, and that's your protocol.
She's a f***ing lawyer, so she knows.
Well, that's lawyer stuff, so that's not true. So we gotta go.
No, it is. That's law.
I'm an
What's she
AG.
saying?
I'm an AG.
Good for you. I don't give a shit. Let's go.
Can you relax? Sir, she's not doing anything wrong.
She's not leaving.
I'm an AG.
She's
let's
the
go.
AG. Buddy,
You're not.
She's not
being
doing
arrested.
anything
Let's go.
I'm not being arrested. You're putting me in cuffs. I'm not being
Okay.
arrested.
Do you have any weapons on you?
No. I'm an AG.
Her badge is in the car. You want me to go get a badge?
Buddy, you're gonna regret this.
Yeah.
You're gonna regret it. I'm an AG.
Get back. Yeah, cops.
Yep.
I'm right here. It's okay.
All right, just go from the car.
No, I'm right here. I'm right here.
Get back.
Come on, babe.
No.
Stop touching me.
All right.
I'll do this to my friend.
I'm right here.
No,
Right
no,
here.
no. Babe, please take my hands up. Please take your hands up. No, please take
You were overreacting. You didn't have to have this happen. Get in the car.
No, babe, no!
You got two to say.
I'm right here.
Get in.
No!
Just put her in.
No!
Get back. Get back, bro.
In the car. Get in the car.
Get your feet in the car.
Well, guys, this just in. Fox can confirm that President Trump will go on patrol tonight in our nation's capital with law enforcement and military personnel at his side. President Trump broke the news today in a radio interview, and we expect more reportable details shortly. Shannon, an incredible development.
Congressman, how do you sleep at night?
I sleep great.
There are 2 million people being starved in Gaza. They are being intentionally starved by Israel. You guys continue to use our tax dollars to send to Israel to fund this. How dare you? There are aid trucks waiting to be let in.
As a Jew, I'm so ashamed of you. And you are destroying our religion with your Islamophobia and your racism. It is disgusting.
Disgusting that you don't care about these 50 people who are being held.
You don't care about the 2.2 million people who are starving right now.
Release the hostages.
You obviously eat well. What about the people who have no food?
I think they should release the hostages.
The babies need to release the hostages, the children that are starving.
Do you think
Why doesn't
the
Israel
children
release the
are-
hostages? That they have, the tens of thousands of Palestinian hostages.
Pray every day for the children of Gaza who have no fault in any of this and yet are being victimized by Israel?
They're victimized by their parents.
Victimized by their parents? They have nowhere to go.
This is your legacy, sir. This is what you want your legacy to be? Starving children?
We know.
But that's spoken like a true Nazi.
Yeah, baby. It's episode 48 of The Whiners on August 21st, 2025. Jeff Norman and Morgan with you, and our other co-host, Ryan Milton, is not with us tonight, but don't worry, it's for a good reason. He's celebrating the graduation from boot camp of his niece, which is something that's a big deal to him, and congratulations to Ryan and his niece. And our special guest tonight is Aaron Baker, who owns a small construction firm in Florida, and he is a U.S. candidate for Congress in the 6th Congressional District in Florida. He has a brand new article out in American Conservative magazine entitled The Future of the GOP, Level-Headed and Anti-Genocidal. And you can read it at AmericanConservative.com. Oh, no, theamericanconservative.com. Hey, Aaron, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Well, that's good. I hope you still feel that way at the end of the show. Not that I anticipate anything but that.
We won't go too hard on you.
Yeah. This is your second time with Morgan.
Second time with Morgan, yes.
Morgan and Jose Vega, who's also a congressional candidate, interviewed Aaron not too long ago. We're kingmakers here, though. I think we have interviewed 3 or 4 other congressional candidates so far.
That's true, yeah. All the way from Florida now to California. And
when you get the Whiners endorsement, Aaron, expect big things.
Cheers.
Cheers, big ears. What are you drinking?
So I usually stop on my way home at Circle K. It's kind of a Florida staple. Get my crushed ice and my vitamin water. And I drink enough by the time I get home that I'll usually put a shot of vodka on top of it. So I'll have a shot of vodka on top of my vitamin water and crushed ice.
All right. Well, we drink responsibly here. That's why I included in that opening the clip of the 2 ladies who weren't drinking responsibly to show the contrast. What are you drinking, Morgan?
So I'm drinking the Bourbon Barrel Ale. Excuse me. I haven't had too much already.
Like you might have had too much already.
No, I had it a few weeks ago, but I just have another bottle again. It's actually really good.
All right.
What are you drinking?
Well, last week I had something called Line 39 Petite Syrah, and I loved it. It's one of the best wines I've had in a while. And I'm not sure if it's because of that particular brand or that particular vintage or whatever, but I'm thinking maybe Petite Syrah is my wine. So my guy at the local wine store said I should try this. So far, not great, but we'll see as it breathes. Maybe a little bit later in the show, I'll warm up to it. But anyway, who cares? The important thing is we have each other, right?
I think that's nice. You're a wine guy.
Can I chime in there on the wine? So I do drink wine occasionally, especially if I go out and have a really nice New York strip somewhere. I absolutely love the Jordan Alexander Valley Cabernet. That's one of my all-time favorites.
All right, say the name again.
Jordan and the Alexander Valley Cab.
Where's Alexander Valley? Is that California or
next to Napa Valley.
Okay. How much does it cost roughly?
If you buy it off the shelf, maybe $38, $40, somewhere around in there.
Oh my God! You must be doing a lot of construction work to afford that.
Well, that's why I said occasionally. I mean, that's probably 2 bottles a year.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds like a nice bottle. I'll have to give it a try. But yeah, I'm not versed in wine enough to get nice bottles. I told Jeff that I probably wouldn't know the difference between a $12 bottle of wine or a $200 bottle of wine. I just wouldn't notice the difference.
I know what the difference is. The expensive one drains my bank account a lot quicker than
of course that, but I wasn't paying for it, and the cups were introduced.
So I'm going to guess that the local politicians where you live aren't too corrupt, because if you have enough money for a $40 bottle of wine, you're probably not having to give kickbacks in exchange for those government contracts.
Correct. I don't have any government contracts, so I mean we're a small firm. Between myself,
what kind of stuff do you do?
So we do bathrooms, we do kitchens, we do Florida rooms. We also have a roofing license. We're not a developer. Everyone hates the developers. So we don't build houses from the ground up. We fix what you already have or add on to what you already have.
All right. Well, you should call yourself a developer, because apparently nowadays it's a path to the White House.
Well, or there are a lot of other things that are very questionable that you're like, oh, well, I didn't know I needed to be involved in sex rings in order to make a name in the party,
It is a right of admission, yeah.
So this article you wrote, does this sum up who you are?
That sums up my foreign policy pretty darn well. So, originally, as a Republican, it's kind of a misnomer because you're taught Israel is our most important ally in the Middle East. But then you kind of take a step back and you have a drink and you think about it and you say, okay, it's okay to be a Republican candidate and support the defense for other countries, but not the offense for other countries. And it's also okay to say, if you want defensive weapons, we'll sell them to you, but that doesn't mean we have to give them to you. So we don't have to be the policeman for the world. So I really think that the sentiment in the Republican Party is changing to where it's not XYZ. It's, we're trying to get a little more mainstream is my point of view.
I think
one of the big things for me is in the 6th Congressional District, which runs from St. Augustine to Daytona Beach over to the Villages and then back up. Most people don't realize the poverty rate is 3.5% higher than the national average. So I would rather spend all of the money that we send to all of these other foreign countries, helping our citizens here at home. And where I thought originally, oh, this is a novel concept, I don't think it's a novel concept. It's an idea that sells very well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say that the Israel question has really become this litmus test to this America First posturing within this reform in the Republican Party. Everyone rightfully would get on board about this Ukraine kind of voicing their opinion on how they were tired of all this money going to Ukraine. And then this Israel, and Hamas, their conflict breaks out, and then this whole narrative shifts, and you have to be for this. We have to, push these bills, and even going further, equating. I think they equated anti-Semitism to criticism of the state of Israel, which is absolutely absurd. So I think it really has shown this bridging between, these what people consider themselves America First, and kind of this old style GOP. You see Marjorie Taylor Greene really spearheading this reform, and she's taken a lot of heat from her, and Emma Thomas Massey as well. So I applaud you. I read this article. It really was the title sums it up perfectly. It is kind of this refreshing level-headedness, and clearly it's shocking how someone has to take the stance or proclaim themselves to be anti-genocidal. Should just be a given to be.
Who knew that my campaign slogan was going to be "Feed the Children"?
So you're taking the controversial anti-famine position.
The controversial anti-famine position, yes.
Well, is it difficult for you, not only with that issue, but let's talk about that as well as the others. Is it difficult for you to walk the line between, on one hand, touting yourself as a Trump guy, and on the other hand, not being on board with him for every issue?
Well, I think in the overall party, and I was talking to one of the 6th district covers 6 counties, so it's a huge area. It's the same size as the entire state of Connecticut. Big area. So I was talking to one of the chairmen today, and we were talking about, we're not going to agree on everything. No two people are going to agree on 100% of everything all the time. but we can find commonality on 90% of what we agree on. And the other, 10% or less, that we should be grown adults and be able to discuss this like grown adults. I grew up in the 80s and in the 90s. Ronald Reagan, Bush Sr., those people were statesmen. I mean, above all else, at that time in our political landscape, you could have a conversation. Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan famously, hated each other from 9 to 5. And then after 5 o'clock, they could sit down and have an Irish whiskey. So we have lost that civility in our political landscape today. And that's really, really, really what I would like to bring back into the fray is, if there's something we disagree on, okay, we'll sit down and we'll talk about it. But that doesn't mean that we're arch enemies within the same party because we don't agree on 100% of everything.
Well, that sounds very reasonable, but Trump isn't always reasonable. Sometimes when somebody comes out against him for just one thing, he gets very vicious and starts, endorsing your opponent and wants to ruin you. Has he weighed in on which, I guess you and Randy Fine are the two main candidates. I don't know if there are any others. Has he weighed in on the race?
He has not weighed in on the race yet.
Yeah. So that's really what I had in mind when I said, is it difficult to walk that line? It sounds like you're not worried about it.
I'm not worried about it. I mean, I ran in the special election back in January. Fine was Trump endorsed at that time. And, everybody said, well, how are you going to run against the Trump endorsement? And I said, well, I still have principles. And I know this guy. I mean, I know his history. I know he threatened to burn down his own synagogue, for heaven's sake. Things like this that you can't even make up the stories that Randy Fine, you can't make up what Randy Fine says. If you were drunk as a skunk, laying on the side of the road, having the worst dream that you've ever had, you can't make up some of the stuff that this man says. So, I think I was just simply not scared to go up against him, and I'm not scared to go up against him again.
Oh, well, let's get into your platform. Now, in the opening, we showed Trump. It was announced today that he's going to go out on the streets in D.C. and patrol. Obviously, that's, a theatrical thing. Think about it what you want. He's not going to actually be, going into real crime fighting situations. But there is a real situation going on in D.C. He really has sent in federal troops. He wants to clean up the homeless encampments. He wants crime to be reduced. What do you think about that, and how would you apply it to your own policing preferences in your district or anywhere for that matter?
Well, I have a very unique take on that because I have family in Annapolis. Annapolis is right down the street from nation's capital. You're talking 35 miles, 40, 45 minutes, and you're there. So I've been to D.C. many times. I haven't been there in a couple years. And I was in D.C. over the weekend, last weekend, and I, was right on the corner of Pennsylvania and 6th, meeting a consultant for dinner. I've never felt so safe in that city in my life. You saw some homeless people on the outskirts of the city as you're driving in, but once you got to like the Capitol area, I didn't see troops walking down the street or National Guard walking down the street, but I saw park police in front of the U.S. Capitol. And I felt like if I wanted to, I could walk from the Capitol to the White House. Isn't that the goal? We want to be able to walk down the street safely. Yeah.
Well, there's a couple of different ways of looking at it. One is, how do we feel about it? Any individual has a right to their own opinion, of course. But the other thing that I'm really curious about is how the majority of the people in Washington feel. There's been some demonstrations, but that doesn't really reveal how the majority of people feel, because people who are satisfied don't demonstrate. And somebody, I forgot his name, made a documentary, but it was very heavy on all the demonstrations and so forth. I guess when you went to dinner, you probably didn't have a chance to go door to door and ask everybody his opinion about it. But do you have any sense at all about how the majority
but
of the people?
you could see the general demeanor. I mean, people were walking in with a smile on their face. People were, walking around, and the National Art Gallery is right across the street from Pennsylvania and 6th. And then you've got the Smithsonian right up the street closer to the Capitol. People weren't walking around, with their purse clutched or, their hand on their back pocket. Most people, and I guarantee you that if you had an honest opinion of do most people support this, 90% of the people in DC would answer yes if they could answer on a secret ballot and not give President Trump any credit at all.
I wouldn't be surprised. I really don't know. I wasn't asking it to imply that I think one way or the other. I really am just wondering. Mm-hmm. Now, our friend Morgan, I suspect, has some concerns about this policing being excessive with respect to protesters getting roughed up and stuff like that. Am I right, Morgan?
That is an angle that I thought of that I didn't think, I haven't really seen anybody bring it up. My angle is that you have, these so you have a Republican in office, you have the Republicans cheering on more police force, and then you have the same on the left. Like the left will do it, and they'll do it under this different guise. We spoke about it last week, and I wanted to bring up to everyone's attention this tweet that Robert Kennedy had. And this was about a DOD directive under the Biden administration that basically was allowing lethal force, the Secretary of Defense to approve military to be used with local law enforcement, even in the case of lethality. So you have this progression of what I proclaim to be authoritarianism. And when you have, now you have a character like Trump federalizing the police department in DC, and then also kind of doing the National Guard stunt that he did it in LA, is that you have this desensitization to the public that are confronting with the military in kind of this combative way. And so I have kind of a reserved, I don't want to give the government more authority to act that way just because you don't know when it could be used against you. So that's kind of my...
Well, I'm not eager to defend the Biden administration, but I'm pretty sure that would apply only in certain circumstances. Do you happen to know what the circumstances were where they would have that authority?
Yes, there was. There was certain bullet points where it was, when people's lives are in danger, I believe was one of them. And so it was, you read it and you go, okay, but you don't know how it can be manipulated in the future. Mm-hmm. Because that's how these legal frameworks are always written.
Slippery slope concern.
Exactly. And so when you have, someone who's, I think, rightfully so, what Robert Kennedy was calling attention to, it's absolutely heinous that we would allow this. You didn't have anybody on the left also raising alarm bells saying this is outrageous. Why are we allowing this? And then you have, President Trump coming into office, and then he federalizes DC's law enforcement. You have these tanks rolling and engaging with the public in a manner that I find to be kind of alarming. And so that's kind of my angle where I'm a little weary that I understand there is this homelessness epidemic. I don't know how you truly combat it, but I'm always weary about giving the government more control in that manner. So
well, I know how you combat it. It's very easy. You stop giving all of our money away.
There you go. That's a good start.
You work on veterans housing. This congressional district has a disproportionate number to the average congressional district of veterans. We have almost 40,000 veterans in this congressional district. That is a huge number. And, from the Korean War, Vietnam War, Afghanistan, Iraq, on up, 40,000. We need to help our people here. And when I see, the one big beautiful bill, that has, $1 billion for veterans housing, but we have $4 billion for something that nobody even knows what it is. We really need to use the money that we have to help our own people. I mean, that's it.
Well, but be specific. We had Ray McGovern on as a guest a week or two ago, and I think he's a national treasure, and I actually told him so in that episode. But I don't think he gave a great answer. He was also saying, well, it's essentially a financial problem. And I said, well, so how would the money be spent if you had it your way? And he said, on social programs. And I never got him to specify what that is. And I agree that veterans deserve priority, but okay, so veterans and the rest of the homeless population, how exactly would you want money to be spent?
Well, one of the things that I would really like to do is address mental health, because mental health is such a huge concern in this country that we don't have the basic infrastructure for mental health to be able to help anybody. I mean, basically, if you fly off the deep end, then they're going to take you to jail. We don't have anything beyond that for,
mental hospitals, build more mental hospitals?
Well, it doesn't have to be necessarily mental hospitals, but just a mental health mental crisis hotline, just to be able to talk to somebody. Veterans
These people are a lot. I don't mean to generalize, but a lot of the homeless are really dysfunctional. They're not going to be calling up hotlines, I don't think.
Well, and also, the opioid crisis in this country. I mean, you see so many people on the street, and I understand that everybody has life choices that they make and that they're responsible for their life choices, but it's also our responsibility to help people try to change their life. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if it's, opioid recovery centers, I know in Daytona Beach, for example, they have a veterans housing that they'll take people to if they're homeless. They also have an opioid center that if, drug addicts are trying to get better, that they can help them. I think we need more of that. I mean, it's,
well, if they don't do it voluntarily, are you in favor of using force?
No.
Tough question. Am I a bad guy for asking?
No, I'm not. Because, I mean, what do we all want from our government? We want less government and we want more freedom at the end of the day. Am I going to drag somebody off the street? Maybe if they're standing on the street corner and they're going like this all over themselves, then they obviously need help, and they might need a little bit of persuasion. How would I spend the money? I think one of the biggest things that you can do is reinvest in the community. One of the things that I despise is housing and urban development, because what does it do? It keeps everybody in government housing, not everybody, but it keeps government housing people in government housing forever, and then they rent from the government forever. I would like to transfer the property that those people are living in actually to the owners that are there, so that they then have a sense of community, because the one thing that we no longer have as a general population is a sense of community. I mean, even in the small area where I live in Sorrento, I'll talk to my neighbors, and I'll talk to my neighbor across the street, and I'll take my neighbor's trash in across the street because he's 85 years old, or take the trash cans, back up to his garage for him. But I don't see that anymore. I mean, I don't see anyone that just cares.
No, yeah, I would also add that sense of ownership gives you a sense of pride that then extends more into you caring about your surroundings, you caring about your community and uplifting it, making new different ventures and economies. And I think that trickles down. You want to have better schools for your children to go to, and all of that. And you don't really have that. One thing that kind of shook me to think about that was during, the BLM riots and protests. You had this very animated woman. Video went viral, and she says, we don't care. We're burning everything down because we don't own anything. Nothing's ours in this community. And that really made me stop and think. And it's because it's like, how would you feel if everywhere you went, it was a subscription, a rent, you didn't own anything. There was no pride in any of the property you owned. And so I kind of empathized with that sentiment. It made me think a little bit broader into, why this was happening and how to fix it. So you brought up some really good points there.
And to that exact point, how do you fix that? Well, okay, we take all the money that we send overseas and we use it for housing and urban development to transfer the renters to ownership, so that maybe it's like a rent to own situation, but then they have a sense of community. Mm-hmm. And if you build that sense of community, you're going to build better communities.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. It's just that I don't know what percentage or how much of the, how great a percentage of the homeless population that would help. You talked about like maybe forcing people off if they're like really obviously wigged out. And I think the way you said it was like your impression is, well, that's not very many people. And I'm sure it isn't very many people in many parts of the country, but in other parts of the country, cities are absolutely overrun with homeless. I lived in Southern California for many years, and there are tents all over the place. Mm-hmm. And it's very unhealthy. And it's like it's weird that our society has turned into this kind of a thing. And I know it sounds cruel to force them off the streets, but on the other hand, I don't know, something's got to give first. Now in Washington, what's giving first is that Trump's clearing them out, but I don't know. It's like musical chairs, though, I would imagine. They've got to go somewhere. I haven't heard any plan to put them in some kind of place where it makes sense.
Well, and to that exact point, if we used money to develop, small, tiny house neighborhoods, mm-hmm. If you're talking about the cost of housing being $50,000 or $60,000, if you're developing the infrastructure and the housing for a tiny house, meaning 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, kind of open studio plan, and if you look to Asia for some of their latest, technology of basically, a shipping container that pops mm-hmm. up and, it gives people a place to live. I think that there are some really viable options for $50,000 or less where, we could help hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people transition back to life.
Mm-hmm.
Except for the mentally ill and the totally drugged out part of the population.
Well, you've got to start somewhere.
Yeah, it would be nice. It would certainly be better if the facilities existed first.
Right.
But that's one of the reasons I moved out of Southern California, is because I saw no hope. I saw no sense of that the local population was taking the position that this is intolerable. We've got to do something. I'm like, well, what am I going to do? So I left. I went to Wilmington, North Carolina,
which is a beautiful place, Jeff.
It is. There's homeless people here, but there's homeless people here too. But the city isn't overrun by homeless people.
Yeah, but I think you go ahead, Eric.
There are so many areas where it is manageable. Where okay, let's fix the fixables first. We have to start somewhere. We have to have people on the federal level that say, okay, I want to take on this initiative. It may not be the 80-20 that everybody wants to take on at that exact moment, mm-hmm. but if you have the right person, the right message, you can convince people, okay, well, we're going to spend some money on this and we're going to see how it works. And, maybe it's only a couple $2 billion to start with, but I'd rather try a couple $2 billion here than a couple $2 billion in Tajikistan building God knows what.
Yeah, well, no argument there. Well, why don't we look at your platform? We have a summary of some of the positions that are on your website, and the web address is right under Aaron's name there, and we flashed it on the screen before. We'll do it again. You're going to continue to advocate for this bill, H.R. 9745. So you're big on a strong, well-armed police. Some would say maybe too well-armed, like maybe Morgan would say that. You want more military surplus equipment to do their jobs. Uh-oh. Morgan, I'm not trying to cause trouble. This is just a conversation.
Stir it up? No, I mean, I think I think Aaron understood where I was coming from, that there's always this hesitancy in giving the government more control in the form of,
No, actually, I'm not so sure that, I mean, I'm for, being tough on crime. I'm not so sure that we need more military equipment, though.
Well,
what's the need for that, Aaron?
Yeah, so what happened was always before any of the local fire departments, police departments, municipalities could purchase military surplus. Now, that doesn't mean tanks rolling down the street, but they could purchase weapons, they could purchase, rifles, they could purchase handguns, they, could purchase things that are cycled in and out of service from the U.S. government. Because what does the U.S. government do? They don't care. I mean, they'll just throw it in a big pile and, melt it down for scrap. But they always allowed police departments, fire departments to purchase whatever, military surplus was applicable to the situation. So under Biden,
well, I get that. I hear the distinction you make, but how did you determine that there's a particular need for that?
So under Biden, what happened was he signed an executive order that said they couldn't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So then Congressman Waltz, who held the seat previously, wrote H.R. 9745 that said, okay, we need an actual law to fix so that this doesn't happen, executive order, because of course, day one, Trump undid it, but now it's just a Biden executive order that was undone by Trump. Mm-hmm. So it's back on again, but unless we start codifying some of these executive orders into law, then next administration could go back and change it again.
But you're sure they need it? That's what I'm saying. I mean, what are they lacking, for example?
Well, what I'm saying is that the basic items that they roll in and out of service, like, for example, a Glock 19. The U.S. Army, the U.S. Air Force, U.S. Marines, they buy 1 million Glock 19s a year. Okay? Mm-hmm. And if they're a year old, then they just rotate them out of service. Okay? So why does every police department need a brand new Glock 19? Well, they don't. They can buy the military surplus. So to your point, there is certainly a balance there of saying, okay, we don't need tanks in downtown Orlando. If we need tanks in downtown Orlando, we need the National Guard here. That needs to be a whole different conversation. We do not need the police department to have a tank in downtown Orlando. Or Daytona Beach or St. Augustine or Flagler Beach, anywhere.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you have a. Go ahead, Morgan.
No, we're just saying we see some common ground in the fact that.
All right. Well, let's get through some of Aaron's other positions here. Foreign policy. You will support Israel's defense and expand the accords, encouraging Palestine to join if they seek peace. Conditional. On Ukraine, I do not support further weapons or funds. Good. We will continue to support NATO, but hold members accountable for their financial contributions. And on Iran, we must stop the flow of money to limit its ability to cause global instability. You want to dig in on any of that, Morgan?
Well, I am a person that finds NATO a institution that really serves no purpose other than other interventionist wars. They really have no purpose, since their sole purpose was the to combat the Soviet Union. Once the Soviet Union fell, I felt like this organization should have fallen as well, and it's given us nothing but just kind of destruction. Yugoslavia. Now what we see with Ukraine and them first saying that no, this isn't about a NATO membership, and now it's Russia has to agree to this peace deal with the contingency that Ukraine might be a part of NATO. It's absolutely absurd. So that's where I stand on that whole issue. And I think kind of the position that we've had with like the Iran situation, I feel like it's Israel that has pushed that conflict to the edge where, you know, we have this nuclear, they have this whole, Iran's on the precipice of getting nuclear weapons for the past 2 decades. And you have the Iranian government, yes, they are very fundamental in Islamic religion. You know, we can agree to disagree on that. That's how they want to do things. That's fine. But a part of their whole, I forgot what it's called, that basically their constitution was to say that it's haram, it's sin to create a weapon of mass destruction like that. And so this whole fomenting of, oh, we got to stop Iran from getting these nuclear weapons, it sometimes it seems a bit hysterical, and it's just like a replay of the Iraq war when you have Benjamin Netanyahu coming to the House floor saying that Iraq has nuclear weapons. So that's where I stand on those 2 issues.
And I completely understand that. I support what we did in Iran. We flew our B-2s over and we said, okay, this is what we're going to do, and that's it. And then we came back home. That's, I mean, to me, that's the perfect scenario of us using offensive weapons anywhere. We don't want to give those to any other country to use. I don't trust any other country on the planet to go do what we did. Okay, that's ours and ours alone. On NATO, I mean, to your point, NATO was created to keep the Soviets separated from Europe. So now what are we trying to do? We're trying to keep the Soviets separated from Europe again. So I mean, I think that it shouldn't be a U.S. peacekeeping force. It should be a European-based peacekeeping force. If they want to demilitarize zone, like we have between North and South Korea. That's a whole different story, by the way. But if they want to demilitarize zone between Ukraine and Russia, let the Europeans take care of it.
Yeah, I think Robert Kennedy Jr. had a really great video on this where he essentially breaks down this whole sole purpose of NATO and capturing new countries is because it requires them to purchase weapons through American manufacturing or weapons manufacturers. So you have this push by this military-industrial complex, if you want to call it, to continue to capture new clients. And that's kind of what this whole organization has turned into. It's turned into this corporation as opposed to this strategic alliance as what it was supposed to, be against what you said, like the Soviets. It seems like it's turned into something a little more like cash grabby, and it has some serious implications because now we're working with nations that have nuclear weapons, and we're not posturing in a way to denuclearize or to work with each other. I applaud President Trump for meeting with Putin directly, and I also applaud him going at Davos and talking about how we need to denuclearize and that we have so many nuclear weapons. And it was quite a spectacle. You could hear a pin drop in the room of these elitists and these globalists that, don't really care, but you have a president who's posturing in that way. And I applaud all of that. And you don't, with an organization like NATO, they want to continually foment this nuclear conflict, which I find is very immature and dangerous. So that's kind of where I stand on. I
want everybody to stop dying.
So to your exact point, my uncle owns a metal plating business in Altamont Springs, so right here in Central Florida also. His biggest client is government contracts, okay? And I've asked him many times over the years, do you do more business under Republicans or Democrats? And he says, Aaron, it doesn't matter. They all fund these wars and ammunition forever. Mm-hmm. And it's an endless cycle, to your point. I mean, these huge defense contractors, what are we doing? I mean, you know,
Well,
okay,
what about
you did-
how do you see the Russia-Ukraine conflict ending?
me?
You might
if-
want to take another sip of the vodka.
Yeah,
before you
right.
answer.
Me, if I were president,
Look at the size of that cup. I can only imagine how much vodka is in there, what the proportion is to
like
whatever
one
you mix
shot.
it.
It is not proportionate to the cup, or else I would be like this right now.
You'd be like the ladies in Rhode Island, the AG.
Right.
I'm the AG. I'm the AG.
The Russians took Crimea under Obama, okay, and nobody really put up a fight. If we could make some kind of deal, let the Russians keep Crimea and split the Donbass region to where the portion that isn't under Russian control, the Ukrainians keep. The portion that is under Russia control, the Russians keep. So, the name of the game here is the Russians have to save face with their own people, right? I mean, they can't walk away with nothing, or else they'll be like, well, why'd you kill
Right.
1 million Russians?
Well, not only that, there's a question of like what authority. See, Scott Ritter was talking about that Putin doesn't even have authority to give up, land necessarily where they're demanding it, which is something I hadn't even heard before.
Well, and Zelensky doesn't either. I mean, it's in their national constitution that he doesn't have the authority to give up land.
Yeah.
So obviously, it's not going to happen in 2 minutes. It's not going to be, okay, you do this, okay, let's all go home. Well, first of all, there needs to be a ceasefire, and then let's hammer out the details. Okay, whether it's this much of Donbass region and Crimea, or it's just Crimea. I mean, it's basically Russian occupied territory at this point. So there has to be a practical solution here. We can't just keep feeding the military-industrial complex until the end of time, and unless that's the goal, is just to keep feeding the military-industrial complex, and not really have it about Russians. I mean, now there's North Korean soldiers on the ground, which who would have thought there are North Koreans in Ukraine, or at least in Ukraine territory.
One of our regular viewers lives in Iran, and he's not happy with something you said. Let's consider his argument here. Hassan says, I'm shocked that the guest so smoothly whitewashes U.S. criminal and warmongering in Iran's nuclear facilities, not to mention it broke all the international laws that ever existed on the planet. What do you say to Hassan?
Well, I think there are a lot of countries that break international laws every day. And we could, if we wanted to go for about 6.5 hours, we could certainly, and about 12 more drinks, and that could be a really interesting conversation. The point is, the one thing I don't like about the way that this all went down with Iran is I felt like the United States was backed into the corner where we had to do something, where our number one ally in the Middle East made us do something, where we're like, okay, what are we going to do? And I felt like that was the minimum thing that we could possibly do and still maintain control over the entire situation. So I'm not going to apologize for, the United States government. Obviously, I don't have all the same intel, but it seems so limited in scope. The one thing that we can all agree on is we don't want any more endless wars. Mm-hmm. This lasted, 45 minutes, and then we're done?
Yeah. I mean, I was really... It pulled my heartstrings that we didn't do the attack, but you had Israel basically targeting the nuclear scientist, and a lot of this nuclear scientist that would be bombed or had a drone strike on them, it would be in their house with their whole family. And you have these nuclear scientists, they're not building weapons, they're building energy sectors for their communities and their economies, like we should be doing. We should be focusing on, this America First perspective, not worried about what Iran is doing, because the CIA had come out with their annual threat assessment under Tulsi Gabbard's authority and said that with their knowledge, Iran does not have the capacity to build nuclear weapons, and they are not seeking to do so. And then you see this pivot that I think was primarily pushed by Israel, and it was done at a certain time that not a lot of people notice. It was actually when the UN was bringing up the question of a Palestinian state, is when all of this kind of erupted. And it's going to happen again, or not. I'm not saying something will happen. I'm saying that the question of a Palestinian state is going to happen later in September. So you have like these deflection tactics that I think Israel really took in causing this escalation with Iran. Not to say that, we're the most evil person or evil thing that we have to be ashamed to be American. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying that, when we have to kind of reflect on what we did and bombing these nuclear sites, was it actually in the benefit of America, or was it in the benefit of Israel? I think it actually kind of put us in a strange spot to show that we are kind of beholden to Israel in a certain aspect, because Israel was the one that was crying, saying that we needed to do this, and then we ultimately did it. So it kind of showed our hand that we didn't have any sovereignty in that aspect to say that no, we will take the diplomatic route, and we won't give in to your other Middle Eastern war that you want us to take in.
Well, and to your exact point, that's why I say I was not happy at all about how it went down, because I felt like, to your point, the U.S. was backed into a corner where it was like, okay, now it's Big Brother's turn to come take out the nuclear sites. It wasn't on our terms. Anytime the U.S. acts, it should be on our terms. It should not be on anyone else's terms.
Hmm.
Well, maybe at some point before we close tonight, we should do like a lightning round so we can get through some of these other positions. I know that Morgan wanted to ask you about Laura Loomer, the lovely Laura Loomer, who may be the future of the Republican Party or may not be.
Laura Loomer. Well, I wanted to bring it up because it tied into, the person that you're trying to take out. Randy Fine was also very vocal about this, where you had these individuals. Yes, there was children. There also was adults, to their point, that were approved with visas to get medical assistance. And then you had a character like Laura Loomer doing these very erratic tweets that were novels long about how jihadists were entering or flooding into America, and we all had to be, get into our basements and hide right away, because it was very alarming. and then not even within 24 hours, you had the State Department revoking these visas of these children. I think I had added a video here where you see in the video, this is a video that Laura Loomer added, you see children there, you see women, and then you see a child with probably 15 with his no longer has a foot. And a lot of these children here were sent to get medical assistance that they could not get in Gaza. So I just wanted to get your comment on that. And you have characters like Randy Fine basically boasting about this, calling it a work of journalism in Laura Loomer's efforts to stop this jihadist takeover in America.
So after that post came out from Laura Loomer and from our Congressman Randy Fine, I posted the letter that I wrote to Secretary Rubio. Today I write to ask that you and President Trump make foreign policy on behalf of the United States. I would ask you to cut through the rhetoric of persons who have hate in their heart. I ask you to make decisions based on the betterment of United States interest and not of social media influencers looking for clicks. I grew up in a Southern Baptist church. We sang, Jesus loves the little children, all the children of the world. red and yellow, black and white, they are precious in his sight. Jesus loves the little children of the world. If you and President Trump feel the number of children entering into the United States on temporary medical humanitarian visas should be zero, then so be it. But if you stand by the idea that a small number, if you stand by the idea that should be a small number, then you have the support of a vast number of Americans. I humbly ask it be your and President Trump's decision. May God continue to bless the United States and my great state of Florida. So I think Randy Fine's an idiot. I think Laura Loomer falls into the same boat. She might have even fallen off the boat of idiocracy. But, these social media influencers do things to keep their name in the spotlight. That's great. She got 4 or 5 million clicks, and that boost her revenue up and whatever else. Is she doing it because she actually cares, or is she doing it because for the clicks?
Mm-hmm.
Randy Fine is doing it for one reason. Randy Fine absolutely hates the people that live in Gaza. Full stop.
Yeah, no, it is. It's very rational. The other statements he said, I think he was doing the hashtag bombs away for a little bit, starve them or starve away, and
correct
the all the other atrocious things that he has said. It's a disgusting reflection to have. He's supposed to be the representative of the entire district of, and projecting what is the community behind him. And that's not a good look to have someone who is saying this and doing it with such malice and kind of is an utter embarrassment to the country, I think. So, it's
the social media performing is, I have sort of mixed feelings about it because I do like to be entertained. I sometimes will support whoever is the most entertaining. But I think like with somebody like Trump, he sort of really is an insult comic. It's not something that he has like all of a sudden done. I mean, he's doing it for political gain, but it's sort of like who he is, I think. Whereas like Jasmine Crockett, for example, who is an educated woman, has in recent months developed this fake hood rat act, which I think is just utterly ridiculous. And there's very little difference sometimes now between the social influencers like Laura Loomer and people like Jasmine Crockett.
You're 100% correct. And to Mr. Fine, it's the exact same. It's the exact same thing. But the difference between Jasmine Crockett and Laura Loomer, I don't know if they believe what they actually say. Mr. Fine believes what he says. When he says starve away, he wants 2 million children and women in Gaza to starve to death, and he would be perfectly content with that. Now his thing is
he looked like he looked like he really meant what he said in that video.
His thing is release the hostages, and I agree. Hamas is a terrorist organization that should be eliminated from this planet, and the hostages that they have should be released immediately. And it is absolutely ludicrous to see someone videoed digging their own grave in a tunnel in Gaza. That is the most horrific thing that you could ever imagine seeing, other than someone starving to death. I mean, they're equal. The reasonability has to return at some point. The level-headed, anti-genocidal future of the Republican Party.
There you go again, sticking to your theme. Not a bad theme.
It's not a bad one, yeah.
I didn't write the headline. I wrote the article, but I didn't write the headline. So to whichever editor wrote the headline, I have to give them props.
Yeah, props to them. That was actually, it really did kind of encapsulate the article, and it was a really good one. it was very, refreshing to hear in the position that you may be in next year, or when is the election? Or maybe November. So in 2 years, if you're
days from today,
if you're in office, it would be a refreshing divergence from the individual that we have in there right now. So,
all right, should we do a lightning round and get through some of the other aspects of the Aaron Baker platform? All right, I don't think I have it in text form, but you do tout yourself as a very religious guy. I'm sure that's sincere. Just quickly, is that? I'm not suggesting it's for that purpose, but are a lot of your constituents religious in your neck of the woods?
It's a very heavily Christian district. Yes,
it is. Okay, and now you also tout yourself as a major proponent of free speech.
Yes, I believe that you should be able to walk up to me in public and say, "Aaron Baker, F you." And you should be able to do this in my face. And
pretty harsh language for a Christian.
Well, as long as you don't throw a rock at me at the same time, I think that you should be able to actually speak your mind. I mean, that's what the Constitution says.
Are you concerned that the Trump administration has pretty much criminalized criticism of Israel?
Of course. It's, it's, some people say, well, it borders on constitutional infringement. It doesn't border on constitutional infringement. It is constitutional infringement. If I want to say, I don't like Gaza, okay, I should be able to say, I don't like Gaza. Or if I don't like Taiwan, I should be able to say, you know what? F those Taiwanese people. I would never say that because I actually like Taiwan. Whole different story. But, if you don't like a certain region, it shouldn't be criminalized to say that you don't like a certain region.
I completely agree. Even remember when Comey, there was that seashell controversy about whether or not, when Comey had, was it 86-47, and 86 people were saying, 86 meant kill him. And there was arguing over whether or not he meant that. But what was lost in the argument was it's not illegal to say that. It's illegal if you threaten to kill him yourself, but to advocate to say you wish he would be killed is maybe nasty, but it's perfectly legal. Not even close to illegal.
It's not, that was the most ridiculous for the U.S. attorney or for the AG to even be involved in such a discussion is a disgrace to the AG's office.
All right, so we're all in a strong, passionate agreement about that. Economic recovery, this is the lightning round, remember. Economic recovery, inflation, and regulation. With conservative leadership, families could save $1,056 each month. That's a very specific figure. How did you calculate that, Aaron?
So that was calculated based on average fuel consumption, average grocery cost, and average energy use in each home. And one of the big sticking points in Florida is our energy cost is going to go up about 40% over the next 4 years because we've relied so much on solar. To Morgan's earlier point, what I would love to do across the United States is build nuclear power plants everywhere. I'd love to build 100 of them across the United States to power the next generation so that we're not always chasing technology to see what the next green technology is. It already exists. It's the greenest technology ever on the planet. Mm-hmm. We just don't utilize it because it takes 20 years to get a permit to build a nuclear reactor so that we can actually power our own houses. So we're going to continue to put additional burdens. And you see what's happening in New Jersey right now. Nobody can even afford to pay their own power bill. That's coming in Florida. And I'm trying to head that off by saying, okay, on the federal side, what we can do, let's build some nuclear power plants. I'd like to build as many as we possibly can. And that will secure that infrastructure for the next 75, 80 years.
All right. We're for nuclear power, right, Morgan?
Yes, we are. Yes.
All right. And if this wasn't the lightning round, I might ask you to please show your work. But since it is, you're going to skate by. I have no idea how you arrived at that figure still, but your priorities are good. Moving on. Education. Florida schools can lead the nation in education by returning control to the states and abolishing the Department of Education. How much does the Department of Education get involved in local schools?
Well, the big thing is the Department of Education controls the money. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm a general contractor. So if I am doing a project where customer wants a new back porch and they're like, Aaron, we want the screens installed also. Well, guess what? I don't have the ability to do that. So then I go hire a subcontractor to do the screens. So I have to mark that up and then charge the customer more. That's exactly what's happening on the federal level. The federal government has such a bureaucracy that if we're saying 20%, 30% of the money is simply wasted, get that money back to the states and let the states do their own thing. Florida has an excellent homeschool program and gold standard schools across most of the state. We need a little bit of work in some areas, but if we had control over those funds, the same amount, and you took out the Department of Education, you would see a 30% rise in what we could spend on education in the state of Florida immediately.
What about the curriculum? Would you be in favor of, let's say, I'm going to guess that you are opposed to making transgender studies the equivalent of, say, English and math as a regular part of the curriculum? Okay. I'm like the amazing Kreskin. I just predicted that without even knowing.
Under the 10th Amendment of the Constitution, most things fall to the state. If it's not specifically granted power to the federal government, that means it's under state control. So in some of these cases, do we have to trust the state to do the right thing? Yes, we have to trust that the state can get their head out of there and do the right thing.
Tushy. You can say Tushy on the internet. All right. Environmental concerns. When it comes to energy, you'll take an all of the above approach, expanding domestic production, embracing renewables, nuclear power, as we just said, and critical mineral mining. You want to say something about mineral mining or anything else there?
Well, I'll just say one thing. Nuclear is extremely important. On environmental concerns, everyone thinks that if you're a Republican, you don't care anything about the environment. I can guarantee you that I am the only one of probably 3 in the entire state of Florida on the Republican side of the aisle that came out against the black bear hunt. So for those that don't know, we have a lot of black bears in the state of Florida. Mm-hmm. The entire Ocala National Forest is in the 6th Congressional District. Oh. So when I drive through the Ocala National Forest from where I live, like up to the villages or up to Marion or Putnam County, quite often I'll see a black bear run across the road. So Florida came up with the idea that they'll have a black bear hunt where they'll be able to kill about 300 black bears. I don't support that at all. That's a Sierra Club position, which is supposed to be the Republican Party's arch enemy. So I share a lot of environmental concerns. Like I said, I grew up on these beaches. I mean, I grew up running up Daytona Beach. And, one of the first things I remember is a seagull stealing my mom's ice cream cone on Daytona Beach. It was one of those things I'll just never forget unless I have Alzheimer's one day. But, we have to cherish these beaches. We just saw when Hurricane Erin, E-R-I-N, by the way, came up and kind of swept the coast a little bit. A lot of the sea turtles, the sea turtle nest, were, washed out to sea. But, we have to do a better job of taking care of our shoreline, especially. One of the legislation things that Congressman Waltz was working on was Volusia County, which is Daytona Beach and points south and north, was a study where the Army Corps of Engineers could come in and tell us how to engineer that beach to be more proactive than retroactive. Because basically right now, if a hurricane comes and it washes all the sand out, what do? You take all this, you get a bunch of sand and you dump it on the beach and you try to start over. Well, that's what we're trying to prevent. I haven't seen anything from Congressman Fine that he's trying to do anything to actually help the environment. I would absolutely love to take that on as a cause.
All right, getting back to education, somebody,
Sure.
OB, I don't know if that's is that the abbreviation for gynecologist? I'm not sure. Not sure what woke means, but DeSantis is having it. He replaced New College with something like Hillsdale. Do you know what OB is talking about?
I don't know.
All right. Well, let's move on then. After all, it's the lightning round, even though I broke my own rule. I always do that. Social Security and healthcare. Social Security and healthcare benefits should increase at the same rate as the interest on 30-year government bonds, ensuring American seniors don't have to wonder if they'll receive a benefit increase each year. Additionally, substance abuse and mental health initiatives must remain a priority. We talked about that a bit before.
So on the Social Security side, again, I have a much older population in Florida 6th Congressional District. The average age is 50 years old. Average age in Flagler County is 60 years old. So a lot of people on Social Security, and what have we seen the government do over the last 20 years? The increase that they give in Social Security to seniors is never even keeps up with inflation. That's why we have a 14.6% poverty rate in the 6th Congressional District, because it's not all the homeless people, it's that we continue to press down on the seniors, because that's who everybody is here, the seniors. We have to tie that rate increase to the 30-year Treasury bond so that we can keep up with inflation. I mean, if we're paying China the 30-year Treasury bond rate to service debt, you're telling me that the money that we already have from seniors, we can't give them the same benefit?
All right. Infrastructure. That's one of our favorite topics, right, Morgan?
It sure is.
And Jose's as well, and Ryan's.
Mm-hmm.
I've experienced firsthand the challenges posed by airport and traffic congestion, which directly impact communities and quality of life. You'll advocate for increased federal investment to address critical issues like flooding and beach erosion.
So we touched on the beach erosion. One of the big things here is also flooding. Along the St. Johns River, if it rains more than 3 inches, then you have 10% of the district that's immediately flooded. So those are things that need to be addressed. A lot of that is federal, state, local don't work together to clean out rivers, tributaries, and all the waterways. One will do it this year, one will do it 2 years from now, and one will do it 3 years from now. So you don't have these agencies working together. We need somebody that's smart enough to say, okay, why don't we all chip in and we're all going to do this together under state of Florida, if you will, has control over the waterways, even if we're considering it a federally controlled waterway, for being able to clean out these tributaries so that we don't have this massive flooding every time it rains. We're just not using common sense.
It's very expensive though, right?
The cost isn't the issue. The problem is that you have the local municipalities that will go clean out the culverts whenever somebody calls and says there's one stopped up. And then you have the state of Florida that will clean out their right-of-ways whenever somebody calls and says there's one stopped up. And then you have the federal government on God knows what schedule for actually federally controlled waterways. So we simply just need to work together, and we need to come up with a schedule, and we're going to say, okay, every 2 years we're going to go around and we're going to put everybody on a schedule, and we're going to clean out all these waterways so that we don't have this constant flooding.
Okay. Gun rights, that's a fun topic, and gun safety. You want federal funding for state and local governments to offer free gun safety classes, improving safety, accuracy, and confidence. And I agree with you. The gun rights people versus the gun control people disagree about a lot, but I do think that's where the potential for agreement lies.
And to that exact point, so my brother is a federal firearms dealer. Just has a little gun shop, sells guns. And there's so few areas that we can try to find common ground on. I think that's actually an area that we can find common ground. We can say, okay, let's provide funding for training. It's optional. If you want to do it, that's great. I mean, I like to go out to the range with my brother. I'm a huge Second Amendment supporter, but it may just be that, Bob down the street wants to know how to use his Glock 19. Okay. It may just be that, Bob's wife, bought him a rifle and, it looked like a really nice Christmas gift, but guess what? Bob has no clue how to use that rifle.
Right.
If you knew something more than, okay, the bullet goes here and you pull the trigger here, it would be really helpful. We have so many accidental gun deaths in this country. I'm looking at ways that we can have common ground, common sense to support the common cause here.
You like that one, Morgan?
I do, yeah.
Like learning to drive a car, right? You have to learn the rules of the road. You have to learn how to drive it. They don't just say, here's the car, hit the road.
No, of course, yeah.
But the issue is we can't make people do it, or if we make people do it, then you make this one mad, or if you require people to do it, then you make this one mad. So it has to be something voluntarily. But to your point,
well, why can't it be required? It's required to pass a test to get a driver's license.
Yeah.
Is it because it would conflict with the Second Amendment? Is that why you say it can't?
Well, I think it's a bit of an infringement. And my ideology in this is that, okay, so you're basically reprimanding the people that already follow the laws. I think we had touched on this on one other show where I said the person who's going to commit the crime that has the gun is already committing a crime. So they don't really care that they have this gun legally or not, or if they know how to properly use it. So when you, I guess, add these stipulations to people who are already going to go through the right channels to obtain the gun, you're kind of infringing.
Well, that's criminals, but Aaron's talking about there's a lot of accidental shootings. These aren't criminals. I mean, I don't know how many accidental shootings there are.
I mean, there are some accidental shootings. You are correct in that aspect.
It's a geez, I wish I knew the number right off the top of my head. Let me see.
Oh, you can just make it up. Nobody will know the difference.
We won't hold it against you. If you in your memories you found that it's more common.
It's more surprising than you think.
Okay.
I have some statistics on immigration that I wrote down because I figured we might talk about that here while you're looking that up.
Spout them off like a Snapple.
The most amount of immigrants, the president who's presided over the most amount of deportations is Barack Obama, 3 million. Mm-hmm. George Bush, 870,000, Clinton, 2 million, and Trump, 1.2 million in his first term. But to be fair, that's his first term, and the Obama figure is over 2 terms.
Okay.
That was just to buy you some time while you looked it up. I can play the Jeopardy theme, too.
461 deaths a year.
Nationally?
From accidental firearms.
Statewide or nationally?
No, nationally.
Okay. That's not as bad as I was expecting. I was expecting to be in the thousands.
I'm looking for common ground here that we can all agree on.
Well, we are not that important. The only thing that's important here is that you have our endorsement.
That doesn't include accidents. If you look at accidents, I think the number's like 35,000 a year.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's, maybe you accidentally shot yourself in the foot, or growing up, my grandfather used to always carry a gun. And in church, we all sat on the same pew. My grandfather sat on the very end, and then I sat next to him, and then my mom, my stepbrother, and then on down the line. And one Sunday, we were sitting there, and my grandfather never showed up for church. And my grandmother was in the choir. So, she's setting up, and she can't see, she can see, where's my grandfather? We all thought he had a heart attack. He dropped his gun getting in his car. It went off and shot him in the stomach, and he drove himself to the hospital.
Oh my goodness.
So, I mean, there's some common sense things that we can work on. Maybe he didn't have the safety on right. I don't know what it was, but,
Well, he deserves a trophy for driving himself to the hospital.
I know, right?
Yes.
Did he survive okay after?
Oh, yeah. Survived fine.
Yeah, just a shot in the stomach. No big deal. Okay. All right, let's do one more. Economic opportunity and job creation. Oh, we love jobs. Aaron says he'll support transferring ownership of HUD-managed homes to the residents, as we said earlier, allowing them to build pride and stability through home ownership. After starting his own construction business, he learned firsthand the challenges of navigating the Small Business Administration. All right, we already talked about the HUD thing, but want to say a little bit about what it takes to deal with the Small Business Administration?
Well, the Small Business Administration and just overall constituent services that you expect a congressman to offer. You want the most knowledgeable staff of people that can possibly help in every single way with the federal government. I mean, that's what your congressman's supposed to do, right? Supposed to be, your representative, but also if you need something from the Small Business Administration or whatever agency it is, you should be able to pick up your phone and call your congressman's office, and that should be the first point of contact, and they should be able to point you in the right direction immediately. So often what I see is when I'm out on the street, people are like, well, first of all, they don't even know who the congressman is. So that's voter education. So that's a little different. Yeah. But to the second point, somebody that has tried or to either call or email their congressman, they'll be like, yeah, Aaron, I had a lady the other day. She said, Aaron, I've sent 4 emails and I've tried to call 4 times to Congressman Fine's office. I have not gotten an email back and no one has returned my call yet. That's unacceptable. Constituent services should be the #1 priority of every single congressman in the United States House.
Right. Let me just say something that's a little off topic, but you made me think of it when you said that the people don't even know who the congressman is. It was just announced that Rupert Murdoch is opening a branch of the New York Post in Los Angeles. And a lot of the, elitists, the people who see themselves as scholarly, whatever word you want to use, are frowning at that. But I think that's a great thing for precisely the what you just mentioned, which is that a lot of people aren't really going to pay attention to politics. And if I'm not saying sensationalizing stories is a great thing per se, but if you're not otherwise going to pay any attention to what's going on, it's better than nothing at all. When I lived in New York years ago, this was before the internet became a big deal. You ride the subway, everybody was holding up the New York Post or the New York Daily News. Sure. You'd see them all over the newsstands. Everybody knew what was going on. They may not be, have the most academic understanding of it all, but they had a basic understanding of what was going on. And then I lived in Los Angeles after that, and nobody knew anything. And I think it's because they didn't have the equivalent of the tabloids. So I think that's a great thing. So,
well, and to that point, a lot of times people ask me, how do you connect with voters? Because I'm not going to have the millions of dollars that Randy Fine has to just blanket mail everybody or to, be on 27 TV commercials. But what I do is I go to the county fairs, I go to the local events, and, there are 2 ways to get on the ballot in Florida. You can either collect candidate petitions, so you collect the signatures, or you can pay $10,440. During the special election, I paid $10,440 because I didn't have time. There was like 1 week to qualify, and then there was the election, so I paid it. But this time I'm out collecting 6,000 candidate petitions. So you're really connecting with people. And once you have to personally, or, sometimes, my volunteers also, once you make that personal connection, you're educating people. You're saying, yes, we can do better, but you have to pay attention to voting in the primary, not just in the general election, because this is a Trump plus 30 district. So we can even elect Randy Fine in a Trump plus 30 district. We'll cut the margin in half, and he only won by 14. But, most of the time, it's voter education. So I preach it every single day with every event that I go to. We have to do a much better job of educating primary voters. It's not enough to just go pull the lever in November. You have to know when the primary election is, which is August the 18th for those in Florida next year. And just hammer it home every single day, every opportunity that you get.
Let me see how dumb I am. Morgan, do you know what Trump plus 30 means?
No, I do not. But
oh, good. All right, I don't feel so. I don't feel so bad.
Point and
So that means that means that President Trump won this district last November by 30 points.
Oh, okay. That's worth mentioning. I didn't know what you meant, though. Okay.
So it's roughly 35 to 65.
Okay, wow.
All right. So if you're like the average politician, Aaron, you are very confident you're going to win. But objectively speaking, can you share with us any polls or anything at all that would give us a sense of how the race is going and what to expect?
I don't think anyone's done any polling yet. I can tell you from being out on the ground every day, people love to actually be able to connect personally with somebody. So people are just so happy that I show up. And I can tell you that Mr. Fine has the same popularity as a seasick crocodile laying on the beach. And that's, I'm sorry, being harsh to the seasick crocodile.
Apologies to the crocodile.
Yeah, apologies to the crocodile. So, there is a real opportunity here. I just have to continue to get my message out every day.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It's a little too soon to say what's going on in the polls.
Yeah, polls are pretty expensive too. If you want to get like an actual poll, instead of because sometimes the polls are, they won't even tell you about someone named Aaron Baker. That's primary.
Yeah, and the problem is, so where we are, we're between Daytona Beach and St. Augustine. So what are the major media markets? Tampa, Orlando, and Jacksonville. So if you're trying to poll in those major media markets, none of them are the 6th congressional district, but they're all around the 6th congressional district. So trying to do any type of poll, I mean, I was told that if you actually wanted an accurate poll, you'd have to spend $650,000 to get an accurate poll.
Jesus, it's better just to wonder, right?
It's better just to go out there and work your ass off every day.
Well, yeah, but I mean, but as far as like getting, I really don't understand the whole poll business in general, because in many cases, obviously it depends what the particular race is, but in many cases, media organizations will do it. And I'm like, well, why spend any money? Just let the media organizations do it.
But they don't accurately do it, though.
Well, yeah, you're right. And then they may not ask the same questions that you want and so forth and so on. But I don't know. But why do the media organizations pay the money? I
don't know. I mean, maybe they have teenagers that they, set up with a phone on the weekend, and they're like, hey, call 1,000 people and see, if they like Randy Fine. And
I don't get the incentive or the financial aspect of it, like why they do it or when they do it. I don't know. All right. Well, anyway, did we get to everything that we all wanted to get to? What do you got? Anything else?
I have nothing else. I appreciate Mr. Aaron Baker giving us his time.
Let's tout his website. If you want to donate, you don't need money, right?
I made the website easier also. So it's just flaaron.com. So that website works. But in order for me to, when I was on everything, trying to make it easier for everybody. I said, how do I make this as easy as possible? Instead of Aaron, the number 4, FL, and then the number 6, somebody trying to write that down, they're like, I don't know what to do.
Well, now you tell me. I would have been flashing this the whole time.
Yeah, flaaron.com.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of.
I can't make it any easier.
Yeah, last week Morgan was promoting an event she's doing. She's saying, go to Eventbrite and search for blah, 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 blah.
I made it very easy. You just have to scan a QR code, but okay.
All right. QR code.
I get it. And that, that's why I'm like, oh, well, let me see if something else is available also. And I'm like, oh yeah, FL Aaron. I can't make it any easier than that.
It is. It's a lot better. I will say.
Well, you could if it were available. I'm sure Aaron.com's not available.
No.
Or AaronBaker.com.
No. Because there's also a bodybuilder named Aaron Baker. So
no kidding.
Apparently he beat me to the punch of some of this stuff.
I got a good one. I got CitizenJeff.com. I know another Jeff who would kill for that. It's a good one, right? Citizen Jeff.
It is a good one, yes.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of money in websites. I know people that just buy names and
they sit on. Oh yeah, a lot of people.
Yeah, they sit on it for years.
Yeah.
I mean, for our roofing business, our number is blank 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 roofing. That number cost us $2,000 to be able to purchase that number, but you put it on the side of a truck or on our sign in front of our office, and nobody's going to forget it.
Well, we don't have any rules against you giving the actual URL instead of blank blank blank. You want to give the website for your business?
Well, the phone number for our roofing company is 352, which is the area code here. Roofing. 352 roofing. It's our phone number.
Very good. All right.
Can't make it any easier.
All right. And you can reach us at 1-800-WINOS. No, I don't.
Oh, we didn't pay for that.
No. All right. Well, we demonstrated how to drink responsibly as compared to what we saw in the opening. I don't know what's going to happen to that assistant AG. I don't even know if it's correct. She called herself the AG, but she's the assistant AG. Maybe I'm just nitpicking. I think the bigger problem.
Umbrella.
Yeah,
I think
she's
got bigger problems.
Yeah, and she wasn't even correct on the law. She said 2 incorrect things. Right? She was saying that that if people request that the cops stop using body cam, they have to stop. That's only if you're the complainant and you want some privacy. But if you're the suspect, that's the whole idea of having it. Oh God.
That was
all right.
Interesting. Yeah.
I mean,
common sense.
Yeah, I mean, I say to myself, like, how does alcohol cause you to say something like that? I can see where it makes you get all rowdy or something like that, but how does it cause you just to say something as stupid as that when you're a legal expert? I don't know. All right, thank you, Aaron. It was a pleasure. I hope that the winer's endorsement helps you.
Thank you. Greatly appreciate it.
All right.
Had a good time. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Good job. Take care, everybody.
Mm-hmm.